So actually, the European countries should not be blocking each other to become more competitive, to have more market shares among themselves. And this is the time to be doing this, because the expanding global demand is emerging from the South. UNCTAD has been making a humble little effort in bringing together something like 20-odd countries, developing countries, to agree on the so-called global system of trade preferences, to have a simple average reduction of tariffs by 20% in about 70% of the tariff line, so that developing countries can practice, can learn to live with a kind of tariff reduction that would not hurt them. So that then when they go to the bigger scene of the multilateral platform at the WTO, they can feel more comfortable in becoming competitive, and can sometimes even initiate their own trade liberalization measures. Because as we all know, the largest contribution on trade liberalization does come from autonomous liberalization done by their each own countries. So this is another effort that we are trying to drive that, and I'm sure that this will be supported by the kind of participation from the ITC side. I has been told also during discussions at our Second World Investment Forum that I need to emphasize also more this trade in services and investment in areas in which we can promote services. And you can see that ICT is a glorious area for investment that could spawn all kinds of trade in services. Outsourcing, how much countries, from my dear friend Ujjal, India, has already been gaining from being involved in the outsourcing business. And so we are all very pleased to see that progress being made in the areas of trade in services negotiations along the line of all the four modes, and particularly, of course, coming from UNCTAD, I have always been briefed that I have to emphasize the fact that don't forget Mode 4. Don't forget that the mobility of natural persons is something of great value. Because if we are going to encourage countries to trade more in services sector, that is an area in which the European countries can gain. Because as you know, at the moment, the global ODAs, the official development assistance, would amount to something like $100 billion US. This is about just the average year, 100 billion. But the level of flows of remittances is about 200 billion and growing every year. ODA doesn't grow. And in the next couple of years, we may be seeing ODA contracting, shrinking. But remittances keep on going up. And remittances for some countries in Asia and Africa constitute more than 20%. Some countries in Africa, even half of their export, total external earnings. This is becoming very important, twice the size of ODA, more predictable, increasing at faster pace. So again here, the trade in services, the capacitating people to be able to migrate and work for some time so that they can gain income and send back home is an area in which we would like to support, and I look forward to working with ITC to support this trend. We are now also working at UNCTAD, and I'm sure that at ITC this has already been done and realized earlier than we're going to do at UNCTAD, because we are seeing that at the moment, while countries like China and India and Brazil are doing well, they actually, because of the linkages through international network of production, they are pulling other countries up along with them. Demand growing in countries that are part of the supply chain can lead to the supply of the so-called intermediate goods and inputs from other countries. So as you can see, most of the main export products in the world today are produced in different countries. And what we are now trying to do in the future is to try to promote the supply chain. And to have the supply chain and the change of international marketing network to expand to cover poor countries around the world. And this is another area in which we are seeing fast expansion. I was told that at the moment 48% of non-fuel merchandise trade comes now from intermediate goods. Can you imagine that this is an area, a vast area in which we can also promote export expansion? expansion. I just would like to end by say a few things, just one or two things about the World Investment Forum that Patricia referred to. This is one forum in which we are trying to say that after the crisis, growth coming from advanced economy might not be as buoyant as before the crisis. So we cannot always depend on the deficits in Europe or United States. Trade may be affected because of the slow growing demand in some of the advanced countries. So what I said from the beginning is that then we have to trade more among developing countries. We need to help reduce the barriers of trade among developing countries. We need to go into more diversified trading areas like services. We need to go into intermediate goods and build up supply chain more so than in the past. But at the same time, as China and many countries around the world are trying to do, is the need to balance export-led growth with the balanced demand expansion within the country. And this is for the good of our own countries, it's a good for the global economic system so that we can prevent any emergence of the global deficits, imbalances that would give rise to another crisis. So that's why here and in connection with the World Investment Forum, we are raising the issues that for this round of globalization, export-led growth is not rejected because we still need export for many things besides just trade. We need technology transfer, we need value addition as I talked about. But at the same time, we need investment in capacities, in productive capacity. We need to raise productivity at home so that the share of wage income going to the labor can increase without creating inflation. As China is now doing the correct thing in allowing very rapid increases in wage levels. I was told in more than 20 provinces, wage levels in China are allowed to increase by more than 20%. This is a kind of catching up process for domestic spending so that China can become less and less dependent for its future growth on external demand alone. So UNCTAD is now trying to push the thinking on policy change in that direction, in that macroeconomic policy should help to promote the share of wage income so that there could be more domestic demand, so that with more domestic demand there could be more investment and there could be more effort to raise the level of productivity. And I hope that this will not take anything away from the export-led growth pattern that ITC is developing. But at the same time, by building up capacity, it can help to enhance the quality of export as well. So I do see that there is a symbiosis between the kind of balancing between external and internal demand, and for some countries, the need to diversify into export-oriented areas. I believe that this is one meeting whose time has come, really, besides the one that I just attend with the initiative of MOFCOM from China and City of Xiamen and UNCTAD at the World Investment Forum. This is something that we need to think through, and we need to be able to see clearly in front of us that the changes that are to come are not going to be bad things, but we better prepare for it, and I know that ITC is very much up to this challenge. Thank you very much for your attention.